Hey, what's up guys? Today, I'll show you a supernatural horror film, Paranormal Activity Part 2, Tokyo Night. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. The film begins with Kachai testing out his newly bought filming camera in front of a mirror. Not long after that, he hears car honks, so he goes out and films the events outside. He helps his dad take out his older sister, Haruka, and put her in the wheelchair. Haruka was involved in a car accident during her stay in San Diego, California, which left her legs fractured. They put her back in their house, where Kachai films her sister. Later that day, while gathered around the dining table, their dad informs them that he will be leaving for a business trip abroad. After their dad leaves, the siblings hang out on their rooftop the following day. Haruka shares that she has to wear the cast for half a year before walking again. One day, Haruka shares with her brother that her wheelchair moved by itself, despite the wheels being locked. Before she fell asleep, the wheelchair was beside her bed, but it was over by the window when she woke up the next morning. Kachai checks his sister's room, looking for a plausible explanation for the strange event, but to no avail. So he suspects that it may be a paranormal force that moved the wheelchair. Before they sleep, Kachai puts a mountain of sea salt in Haruka's room to protect her from an unseen force. The morning comes, and Kachai rushes to his sister's room after hearing her screams. He opens the door and finds her freaking out as she points out the scattered salt on the floor. Later that day, when they eat their food, Kachai confesses to his sister that he secretly had a camera in her room. They review the footage and discover that an unseen force scattered the sea salt. Kachai apologizes for unintentionally creeping on his sister, but he explains that the camera only filmed the salt, nothing else. Later that night, despite Haruka's disagreement, Kachai sets up a camera in her room to capture if an unlikely event happens to her. He connects the camera to the PC to monitor the situation. Kachai promises to only film for one night, so Haruka lets him do it. The following day arrives, and the siblings immediately check the footage first thing in the morning. However, the result is not what Kachai hoped, as there were no strange movements whatsoever that occurred. Nevertheless, Kachai still wants to investigate one last time, so he pleads with his sister, who agrees as she cannot say no to her brother. They review the footage again the following day, and there is still no movement. However, Kachai points out to his sister the soft knocking, which he believes is done by a poltergeist. This freaks her out, but she forbids Kachai from filming instead of investigating. However, Kachai is hard-headed, so he repeatedly pleads with his sister until dinner time. They begin to argue as Haruka gets pissed at her brother. As they throw hurtful words at each other, the glass beside Kachai suddenly shatters into pieces. The siblings are too dumbfounded to process what just happened. After the unsettling event at dinner, Haruka tells her brother that he can film if he wants to. The event a while ago disturbs her, and she wants to know what happens in her room while she's asleep. So Kachai sets up the camera, and later that night while she's asleep, her bedroom door swiftly opens by itself. The following day, Kachai's schoolmate arrives with his girlfriend, and their psychic friend, nicknamed Ms. Psychic, who has the ability to sense and see if there's a supernatural force luring around a place or a person. She remarks that she feels a strange presence in the siblings' house. So Kachai takes them to Haruka's room, where Ms. Psychic suddenly begins acting strangely upon examining it. She promptly leaves the room without a word and returns downstairs to the living room. Not even long after sitting on the couch, Ms. Psychic suddenly screams before the foam comes out of her big mouth. They immediately wipe her stinky mouth, and Ms. Psychic hurriedly picks her things up and repeatedly apologizes to the siblings before running her smelly ass away. Although confused, the couple apologize too and follow Ms. Psychic outside. Following that encounter, Kachai contacts a priest and requests a purification ceremony in their home. He shares the recent strange occurrences in their house, which progressed after his sister returned. Later that night, while in the computer room, Kachai repeatedly hears clattering noises. They become louder and louder, so he decides to check out where they are coming from. He goes outside his room and follows the noise downstairs in his room, where the radio appliance suddenly turns on by itself. Kachai turns it off before sitting on his bed when he notices something. All the photo frames with his picture on them are broken. He shows them to Haruka first thing in the morning and shares that he is also experiencing strange things. So Kachai sets up a camera in his room to monitor the situation. Later that night, at almost 3 a.m. in the morning, Haruka's bedroom door opens by itself again. Shortly after that, Haruka lets out a terrified scream, loud enough that her brother wakes up to it. Kachai immediately gets up and goes to her, and Haruka frantically informs him that the unseen paranormal force touched her. Kachai checks the room with his camera, when not long after Haruka's hysteria, they hear loud footsteps. They get louder as they get near, and then the door suddenly slams shut right before their eyes. This freaks out Haruka even more, but Kachai bravely opens the door and checks the hallway. Fortunately, nothing scary follows those strange and terrifying things, and Kachai calms down his sister. The priest arrives the following day and performs the purification ceremony in their house. It only takes a while, and the priest informs them their home's disturbing and evil presence has now disappeared. They are now safe. Fast forward to 4 days later, since the purification ceremony, their lives are at peace. The strange occurrences have stopped. While hanging out in his sister's room, Kachai confronts Haruka about the car accident she was involved in. Haruka confirms Kachai's known information that the girl she hit was a killer. She shares that the girl murdered her boyfriend, and Haruka accidentally hit her when she tried to escape. Haruka feels terrible instead of angry, because the girl she hit died because of her. Later that day, the siblings warmly welcome their dad, returning home after his business trip abroad. They inform him about the events that had happened in their home after he left, but everything is back to normal now after the priest performed the purification ceremony. But later that night, while they're asleep, Haruka's wheelchair moves by itself towards the camera, which turns static. The morning comes, and the siblings' dad has already left the house to do his business. Meanwhile, while reviewing the last night's footage, the siblings realize that their nightmare is not over. The evil presence lingering in their house is still present. Because of this, Kachai contacts the priest who performed the purification ceremony. However, he gets informed that the priest died of a heart attack after leaving them. Later that night, the evil presence's doings progress violently. While they're asleep, the unseen force attacks Haruka by pulling her greasy hair. Kachai immediately gets up after hearing his sister's terrified scream and goes to the door. However, he cannot go out as it's locked. He repeatedly attempts to open it as he hears his sister's screams. When he finally opens it, he hurriedly runs upstairs into her room and finds her on the floor, still screaming. Kachai quickly helps his sister, who claims the unseen evil force pulled her under the bed by her hair. Kachai calms his sister down, even though he's also terrified to shit. They contact their dad first thing in the morning, but he does not pick up their calls. Before going to sleep, Haruka confesses something to Kachai. It turns out, she experienced the same strange things while she was in the hospital after the car accident. She would hear things like heavy footsteps and things moving even though she was alone. At first, she thought it had something to do with the hospital, as establishments like hospitals are known to be haunted or something related to it. But then the strange phenomenon happened again when she returned. Haruka uses his computer and shows his brother the Katie San Diego murder. The girl that Haruka hit experienced strange things too before she went on and killed her boyfriend. It's believed that she was possessed by an evil entity, and Haruka feels that the evil spirit is coming after her. She thinks she will be possessed too, like the girl she hit. So she pleads with her brother that he will get out as soon as anything strange happens to her. Of course, Kachai does not agree with her condition, but Haruka firmly insists on it, as she feels responsible for dragging her brother into her mess. Later that night, Kachai is frantic as he cannot find her sister, who he has been hearing screaming for a while. Kachai checks their whole house, and fortunately finds her at the rooftop corner. He hurriedly comes to her, only to see her unconscious. Kachai repeatedly calls her name until she wakes up. As soon as she does, Haruka shows a bite mark on her arm, which she claims is from the unseen evil force. Haruka begins to freak out after claiming that the unseen evil entity is behind her brother. Terrified by that, Haruka suddenly loses consciousness, and despite his attempts, his sister remains like that until the morning comes. Because of what happened, Kachai spends his night sitting in his sister's wheelchair, checking on her. Before leaving her room, Kachai puts a crucifix in her hand, hoping it will protect his sister from the unseen evil entity. After that, he goes out to cook her food. While Kachai's away, Haruka drops the crucifix on the floor, which moves on its own. As it does so, the windows suddenly shatter into pieces. The crucifix also bursts into flames, which quickly disappear within seconds. After a while, Kachai returns to the room, and he's both shocked and devastated after realizing what just happened. Later that night, the unseen evil force attacks Haruka again. It slams her door open, and Haruka mysteriously goes into a trance. She slowly stands up on her legs and creepily walks out of her room with a weird posture. Haruka goes downstairs to her brother's room and just stands beside his bed for 2 hours, watching him sleep. After that, she leaves the room, and soon, Kachai wakes up after hearing her screams. He immediately gets out of his room and runs downstairs, where he hears glasses breaking. However, Kachai finds his dad's corpse in the closet instead of finding his sister. A now-possessed Haruka appears behind Kachai and attacks him. After that, she drags him to his room and throws him toward his camera. Kachai loses consciousness, and his possessed sister creeps out on him. But before she can attack him again, Kachai escapes to the streets, where he stops a taxicab passing by. Kachai gets in and tells the driver to drive anywhere. He does not care where he goes, as long as he's away. However, Haruka suddenly appears in front of the taxi, causing the car to hit her before crashing. Kachai survives the accident and later goes to the morgue to identify the body who died in the car crash. Kachai removes the sheet and is shocked after seeing the body of the taxi driver. Kachai is still processing his shock when the unseen evil force drags him into the darkness. The camera's recording his screams before its feed cuts out. The film ends with the camera feed returning, recording Haruka staring right into the lenses with a demonic green. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.